Hello and welcome to the Luehmann Circus. We are a family of 5. We like to talk about faith, family, relationships, and everything in between.
Today, we want to talk to you about why we don't give parenting advice. And if you want to see how our nighttime routine went when we were trying to make a video about it and how it just failed,
Complete and utter.
please keep watching this video.
The first reason we don't really like to give parenting advice is because our children are all very young. So we have not experienced kids like between 10 years old to teenagers, and so we have nothing to offer.
Right. And even though we have experienced kids that are not our own, like we were youth pastors for a season, so we engaged with a lot of teenagers. And then we also have cousins and nieces and nephews and all of the sorts of things. The reality is that we haven't lived with them day to day all the time. So yes, we could give you some advice, but in reality, we don't have any authority to speak about many of the age groups that are represented.
They're not our children, so we have no idea what they are like, and every child is so different. Even between our 3 kids, not one of them is even close to being alike.
Yeah, and the truth is that we have asked other friends and family for advice, and some of the things that they have told us, it has worked for them and it's been really, really good advice, but it doesn't work for us and our children. And the truth is that people know their children best. So if you ask for our advice, we will share with you what has worked for our kids, but that doesn't mean that that will work for yours. So the reason we don't volunteer information or we don't volunteer advice is because we don't know your children. You're the only one that actually does.
The God's honest truth is that we are more than unqualified to give anybody advice on their children because those children are yours. God gave them to you because you are going to be the best parent for that child.
Right. And yes, there are general things that we can all get from parenting. You know, there are great parenting books, there are great things, but it's not like it all applies exactly to all of us the same way. So we have realized that we just take what works for us and we take what doesn't work for us, and then when we share that with people, we say, look, this is what worked for us. I don't know if it's gonna work for you. I hope it does, but they are your kids. You know them better. Perhaps the spankings don't work for your kids. Perhaps timeouts don't work for your kids. You kind of have to sit down and really get to know them to be able to discern, gosh, what is the best thing that is going to work for my child?
And here's something I can offer is that your children are a piece of you and a piece of their mother or father. So go back to your parents or go back to what works with you when you are having a tantrum or frustrated or whatever. Like what works for you? How do you calm down? So, I mean, they're a piece of you, so that kind of...
Right. Many of their behaviors are not going to be because they are like being bad kids. It's going to be because they are actually emulating some of the things that they see in you. So, I mean, that's advice we can give you. Check you first.
Fun. So here's how the bedtime routine is supposed to go. We feed them dinner, we clean them, we play with them, we brush their teeth, and then we take them to the rooms.
Right. We put pajamas when we clean them and all of that. We do a devotional together and read a story. And then we pray all together. Then Maxie connects. This is Connect.
It's very
very cute.
close.
So they connect, and then usually I take Max, Caleb takes the girls, and we put them to bed. How often does that happen?
We're about 40%.
Yeah, 40%, but this is what actually happens when we're putting these children to bed. What do you think Esther might have felt, you guys?
When all her people were gonna die, what do you think she felt, Anto?
Anto, what do you think? Hey.
Emmy, what do you think?
Are you asleep? Are you serious?
If if somebody's giving you the advice that like, hey, this is final, this is what you need to do with your child, like step 1, step 2, step 3, this is how your child's going to turn out, you're literally being robbed of your actual God-given right to that child and how to parent them and how to experience times with them. And by the way, those things that person's telling you, or the book that you read that's laying things out for you, doesn't know your child.
Right. It's good advice, and some of it may apply to you, but the reality is that if you don't go on this journey to sit down and say, I'm gonna pay attention to my child and really get to know them so that I can discover what can be best for this person that God entrusted me with. Like, how was he wired, or how was she wired? What did you do with these people? How do you want me to engage with them? And to start asking them, like, how do you want me to love you? How could I, like, what kind of a love language do you have? Like, do you want me to spend a lot of quality time with you? Do you need to have a lot of hugs? Do you need to have a lot of conversations? Like, every single child is so different. And if you take an advice from someone as final, and like, or if we give advice and we just say like, no, this is how you do things, then the truth is that we're robbing you. We're robbing you from the best part of parenting.
The other thing that can happen is if you start to parent the way that the book tells you, or people tell you, you're going to be stringent with your child, which means you're going to be ignoring the things that they're actually telling you. Our kids are not stupid. Kids are super wise and super smart, and the way they react and the way they emotionally want to get something across to you, they'll get across to you by the way they act, the way they talk to you. But if you are so set on this is how I have to do it, this is how I have to do it, you're going to take those things out of your child.
Right.
You're going to break your child's spirit.
Yeah, exactly.
Which you can't do, because then you're like programming a child to be a robot.
Right. Nanto, you have your eyes closed.
I was pretending.
You're silly.
Did you
I know.
Okay.
She walked up to the king.
She did walk up to the king and talk to him, even though she could have died. Isn't that brave?
Courageous.
She wanted to save her people. Hey, Emmy, did you like the story of Esther? Okay. The last reason why we don't give people advice is because we realize that sometimes when we gave advice, some of the people that we were giving advice to would feel like if they didn't take our advice, we would be offended. And we never want to make anybody feel like what we're telling them is final and they don't get to disagree with us. So we don't give people advice. We just share with people what we have done that has worked for us. But that's even how we phrase it. Like, I don't know how to help you with that, but this is what we've tried, and it might work for you, or maybe not. Or these are the books that we've read and they had really good insight that we really liked, and some that we really didn't like. But we want to have in our life and in our relationships, we want to make room for people to disagree with us and for them to be very comfortable disagreeing with us, knowing that it will not affect our relationship whatsoever.
If you do have friends or people who want to come to you and ask you, hey, what did you do with your child? Don't just share the things that work, share the things that didn't work as well.
That's true.
Because those things that didn't work for you can possibly work for that person and their child.
And even sharing the failures, sharing the failures sometimes gives people a little hope, where it's like, oh, I tried that and it was so bad, like it totally backfired on us. And just, it's good to share those things with people. People feel like, oh, I'm not a terrible parent. Like, that happens to everyone. Like, sometimes things backfire. Sometimes your child screams in the middle of Target. It's happened.
Multiple times. Also, people are coming to you for advice or wanting to know what you've done, or, hey, share with me how you parent your child, because they look up to you, or they respect you, or they see you as somebody who knows what they're doing. And so,
or our kids behave in a way that they wish their kids behaved.
Exactly. And so don't be afraid to share the failures, because you want them to feel, hey, this person's no better than me. You want them to feel like we are on complete equal ground as human beings, because we really are. And
parenting is hard for all of us.
parenting is not easy.
No.
And I wouldn't believe anybody if they said, yeah, parenting my child's easy.
And the worst thing that we can do to people is in any way, shape, or form make people feel ashamed or make people feel guilty by the choices that they are taking.
Or even make them feel inadequate.
Yeah.
Because that's completely what we can do when we only share how awesome it is to be a parent. And
Or
that
if we
this
give
is
them
what
advice
works.
like, this is what we do because we know how to do parent. Because we don't.
We have
We're
no
kind of
clue.
winging it here. We're praying, we're hoping for the best, but we really don't know what we're doing. And I don't think that anybody does. We're all kind of like trying our best, we're praying, we're hoping, we're asking God for help. But at the end of the day, they are their own individuals and they are going to make their own choices. And we're going to make mistakes. And we're just hoping that grace covers them all. And
So if you are struggling in the parent department, get with a group of friends and say, hey, what worked for you? Sit at a round table with people and be like, hey, what worked for you? Oh, that didn't work for me. That went terribly wrong.
Yeah.
But then somebody can throw something out there and you're like, hey,
I might try that.
That might work.
And then more importantly, sit down with your kids and have as young as, you know, ours. Like we have a 4-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 2-year-old, and we sit with them and we ask them questions like, what do you need from me right now? Would you like to go on a date? Like we found out that our oldest wanted to go on individual dates with us because she told us. And so ask him, like, what do you need from me? How could I help you? Why are you having such a hard time? And sometimes they won't have good answers, but sometimes if you ask the right questions and if you dig deep enough, they'll be able to give you amazing jewels that you're going to be able to take into your parenting, and it's going to change your relationship with your child.
So if you're looking to us ever for any advice about parenting, we probably won't give it to you. But what we're going to do is we will share some stories of failures, of successes, of the times we've probably cried a whole lot once our kids finally went to bed.
We will give you embarrassing stories. We will give you things that worked for us, things that didn't work for us, and we will just have a good conversation with you. But we will probably never, actually, definitely never, give you like set in stone, this is what we do. Because we have learned that that doesn't work. Thank you so much for watching our video. If you like what you watched, please subscribe and press on the little bell so that you get notifications for our videos. And you can follow us on
Twitter, Instagram, Facebook.
That's about it.
That's it.
Thank you for watching.